In this example, we're going to look at the parent function for exponentials, 2 base 2 raised to the x power, and we're going to look at how the graph changes when you have a negative in the very front or when you have a negative included with the exponent. So if you have a negative in the very front, you're going to reflect over the x-axis, so the original graph was in red there, and when you reflect it over the x-axis, you see that graph in blue. And both graphs have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. When you have a negative included in the exponent position, the reflection is over the y-axis. So the original graph was in red, 2 to the x power, and then when you reflect it over the y-axis, you get the graph in blue. And both the red and the blue graph still have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. So for these two equations, we're going to be describing the domain and range. I did change the base from base 2 to base 7. All that means is if the original looked like this, which is 2 to the x, if you change the base to 7, say 7 to the x power, it's just going to grow quicker. So it's going to look like this, 7 to the x power. So it's still going to reflect over the x-axis if you include a negative in front, or it's going to reflect over the y-axis if you include a negative with the exponent. So for this first example, there's a negative in the very front, which means we're looking at this picture, a reflection over the x-axis. So we're focusing on this blue graph right here. So when we're talking about the domain, we're saying what's our x values? What's the furthest left and what's the furthest right? Well, for our x values, the furthest left that this goes is negative infinity, and the furthest right is going to continually open to the right, so negative infinity to positive. In terms of the range, the lowest it goes, that's our y values, it's going to go down forever, so it's going to go to negative infinity. And then the highest it goes, well, as you're traveling up the y-axis, you're getting closer and closer to 0 because that's our horizontal asymptote, but you never actually hit 0. So we're going to put 0, but we're going to include a parenthesis instead of a bracket because you're not actually including the 0 value. So for this last one, we notice that there's a negative included with the exponent, so we're looking at this picture here. So it's a reflection over the y-axis. So our domain is our x values. How far left does it go? Forever to the left. And how far right does it go? Forever to the right. So again, negative infinity to positive. Looking at our range, the lowest it goes. So the lowest this goes on the y-axis, we're looking at y values. It's getting closer and closer to 0, but it never actually touches 0. So we're going to use a parenthesis with a 0. And then the highest it goes, it's going to continually go up forever. So the highest it goes is positive infinity.